Hello, I'm Martin Landau. Here are a few scenes from next week's episode of Space 1999.
Oh, hello there. This is Mark, coming from outer space. You're watching Sean Likes Spaceships. Enjoy.
Hey, it's Sean, or as my dad would call me, Shine. Space 1999 was a sci-fi television series that initially ran from 1975 to 1977. It starred Martin Landau as Commander John Koenig and Barbara Bain as Dr. Helena Russell. When I was 5 or 6 years old, this was my favorite television show. I was already up to my short pants in Star Wars love, but I couldn't watch that movie whenever I wanted, and this sucker was on TV. I must have watched it in reruns because while yes, I am very old, I'm not that old. I'm not sure how I learned about this show. My parents must have dropped me in front of the TV so they could go about their lives for an hour. I didn't even watch it very often, but whenever I saw this, I knew I was about to watch either Space 1999 or The Muppet Show. Either way, I was a winner.
I'm a winner. I'm going to win.
Since the beginnings of this channel, I've wanted to do a video on this series, but I didn't want to watch all 48 episodes of the show. And I didn't remember it well enough to know anything except spaceships were really cool. So I snooped around the internet to see if there was a fan favorite episode of Space 1999, and wouldn't you know it, there is. It's called Dragon's Domain. And hopefully in this video, you and I will see if Space 1999 holds up to adult scrutiny. Please let me know if this idea appeals to you and if you have any more suggestions like this with other television series, because there's a lot out there and I never want to be in a position where I have to watch the show Earth 2 in its entirety. Suggest something in the comments. The worst thing that could happen is that I'll take your suggestion, it'll be awful, and I'll hold it against you until the end of our days. I hold on to grudges sometimes that last over 30 years. I still remember when you pushed me into the pool at Belcher's party, Rodney. Let's get into the audience favorites episode of Space 1999 called Dragon's Domain. We start strong right off the bat. I mean, look at this thing. Maybe the best introduction ever. If I was gonna start a television series, this is exactly how I would do it. The Waka Jawaka music, miniatures, explosions, quick cuts, everyone's so earnestly serious. This thing rocks. Look at the wardrobe, my God, man. If I were capable of human emotion, I'd be openly weeping right now. The main plot of the show is centered around Moonbase Alpha. It's a scientific research colony, and after a nuclear explosion that happens on September 13th, 1999, I don't know why that date is so important to the show, but it is, because characters bring it up every chance they get. It knocks the moon out of Earth's orbit and sends the moon into deep space. The series follows the exploits of the crew of Moonbase Alpha, led by Martin Landau, who is a few years out of his run from the Mission Impossible series.
I think one of the interesting things about this show, walking onto a new set that's been built, is not to be disappointed as a performer.
We're going to get back to Martin Landau in a few minutes. The episode starts with crew member Tony Salini seeing visions, and he wakes up in a cold sweat that has him pulling weapons off his wall and burying a tomahawk into a computer bank. Why do you let the crew member who has shown in the past that he's crazy in the coconut have a large armory of weapons all over his walls? They don't answer that question. Cellini tries to escape the moon base using one of the moon base's ships, but Martin Landau shows up just in time to stun him with a laser blast. Slightly off topic here, but the sets to this show are amazing. They look like what someone in the 70s would think a futuristic moon base would look like, and I just love them. We learned pretty quickly that Cellini was on a mission before September 13th, 1999, where he ran into an alien monster that took out his entire crew and he barely escaped himself. But here's the thing. When Cellini got back to Earth, no one believed his story and they thought he was lying. They think he's responsible for his crew joining the Choir Invisible and left his spaceship out in the middle of space because he was bananas. So why did they let this guy on another important space mission? Because don't worry about it, they did, okay? Well, now the moon is drifting near the spaceship graveyard where Cellini ran into the monster all those years ago. And hot damn, Susan, there's Cellini's old ship. The crew of the moon base check it out, and like Alfred Wegener, people finally start to believe him. In 1912, Alfred Wegener proposed the idea that the continents of Earth shifted over millions of years, and scientists laughed at his idea until the discovery of plate tectonics. So who's laughing now, idiots? So yet again, Cellini escapes in a spaceship and goes after the alien monster that's been tormenting him for years. The alien takes him out, and Martin Landau and his crew arrive just in time to see him get eaten by the monster. Then they take out the alien with a couple of lasers and a fire axe. The performances on Space 1999 are strong. From what I could gather from the episode, it appears that people were cast because of their acting talent. This is both good and bad. It means you get realistic, spot-on acting, but it also means that the show is populated by middle-aged people who you don't enjoy staring at. This is something the Buck Rogers series gets right. If you haven't seen that video, please check it out. Martin Landau as Commander John Koenig is great on this show because Martin Landau is great in everything.
Beware of the big green dragon that sits on your doorstep. He eats little boys.
There's stories that he was kind of a pain in the ass on set, specifically to other male cast members. I'm sort of reading between the lines here, but I think the reason why he was, let's call it prickly, is because he was on a show that was constantly attempting to keep the budget down, and a really great way to get that budget lower is to get rid of the guy you're paying a bunch of money to.
I like the concept and the idea. I like the idea of the moon being a colony. I like the fact that we're being stupid and using it as a waste dump for nuclear waste. And I like the idea of it going off into space and not being able to control the trajectory.
Martin Landau also left Mission Impossible in the third season due to salary and contract disputes. I had a preconceived notion that he would look like someone who thought a quaint sci-fi show was beneath him, but he's totally game on this show and he seems to completely be into it. I also just learned that Martin Landau was offered to play the role of Mr. Spock on the original Star Trek pilot, but he turned it down out of fear of being typecast as a character that didn't ever have emotions. And as much as I loved Leonard Nimoy, he was totally right about that. Then there's Barbara Bain, who plays Dr. Helena Russell. She's also the second lead on the show. She's Moonbase Alpha's psychologist, and she's great. She's also still alive and working, so good for her. She had worked with Martin Landau on Mission Impossible, which isn't a huge surprise since they were married in 1957. She ended up leaving Mission Impossible when Landau did because what the hell choice did she have? They ended up getting divorced in 1993. I don't know why two people get divorced after 37 years, but the reason given was too much togetherness. Yikes! At one point, one of them looked over at the other and said to themselves, "I'm tired of looking at their stupid face."
I'm Martin Landau.
I'm Barbara Bain.
Join us for Space 1999 right here on WGN Television 9.
Everything you could imagine about the future and what exists beyond the boundaries of outer space are vividly confronted in Space 1999, the unlimited adventure series.
Be sure to watch every week Space 1999 here on WGN Television 9.
Space 1999. It's going to be a very good year.
So it's time to talk about the giant alien space monster in the room. I have a good deal of love for antiquated special effects. I love miniatures and models, painted backdrops, green screen. I even love when a dummy gets thrown off a roof and you have to pretend it's a real guy. But with me saying this, my love has its limits. Just ask any of my exes. My limit was reached during any and all of the alien monster scenes in this episode. I love it, it's charming, but it feels like Ed Wood is just somewhere off camera, nodding his head yes in full agreement. I'm not saying my suspension of disbelief was ruined. There isn't any suspension of disbelief to be had for this show. Not for a single moment would any sane person believe these people are on the moon and that moon is hurtling through the galaxy. But the alien monster is laughably terrible. I mean, look at this thing. It's ridiculous. It's hard to be afraid of something if you're laughing at it the whole time. I find this to be a feature, not a bug, but it takes a certain type of person to love bad special effects. I understand that most people are not like that. It's hard to look at any sci-fi series and not compare it to Star Trek, but the people who made this show clearly watched the original Star Trek. I think they may have wanted to make 2001, but they didn't have the money for it. To its credit, the show was canceled before Star Wars, so at least they didn't try to do something all Star Wars-y on a TV budget. Those shows would come later.
You're in Space 1999 with the crew of Moonbase Alpha Command Center. Space 1999 Moonbase Alpha Command Center and Astro Flash Computer comes with the Commander, Doctor, and Professor. Only from Mattel.
And while the show is slow at times, it's fun as hell. And if you're anything like me, you're a competitive youth tournament bowler in high school, your dream car is a 1987 Jeep Wagoneer maroon with wood paneling on the sides, and you're probably going to like this show. If you're going to do any amount of research on this particular episode of Space 1999, you'll see the story St. George and the Dragon keeps popping up. Of course, we all know how this episode of Space 1999 is a modern retelling of this story, since everyone watching this video is well versed in 11th century Georgian Christian literature. But for those very few of us who are not, it's basically the story about a knight named George who kills a dragon and saves a princess. See? I saved you Googling. You're welcome. There are some problems with the show. There's the usual stuff like gravity and atmosphere, but maybe that's explained away in a different episode. There's a host of other problems. They show up in a spaceship graveyard. They even mention the other spaceships aren't from Earth. So why don't they check them out after they get past the alien space monster? Wouldn't they want to at least take a peek at the tech? They're on a moon base. Aren't resources crazy limited? Why wouldn't they want to salvage as much of that as they could? And why is the guy in charge of the moon base going out on a dangerous mission that he knows he might not come back from? When I was 16, I worked at a Wendy's and the manager wouldn't come out of the office to help with customer service if we got busy because he had more important shit to do. They even have the psychologist come along on the away mission. What the hell is she supposed to do? Ask the alien about its relationship with its dad? Look, man, the show isn't immersive. Star Trek does future utopia better. You'd never recommend this to a non-nerd. And the only new idea I see is that you know which job the crew members have from their left sleeve color. That's cool. And the show is incredibly fun. And if I ever have more time, I'll watch another episode in the future. If I had to rate this show on the mustache scale, with Tom Selleck's mustache being the highest and Michael Cera's mustache being the worst, I would give Space 1999 Sam Elliott's mustache. And you know what? That's a damn good mustache. My name is Sean, and I like spaceships. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Sean Likes Spaceships, the audience favorite Space 1999 edition. I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. A like and subscribe.
I'm Sonny Tufts.
I'm Gloria Jean.
Join us here on WCBN UZ-ZHYO TV right here in Scarsdale.
For the most exciting new show since Whiplash, Space 1999.
A firecracker explodes, sending the moon into a complete tizzy.
And making all of us totally wacko.
Come with us and our co-star, S.C. Sackcow.
Space 1999. It's going to be a very, very good year.
Well, fair.
Not too bad.
Come see, come saw.
Well, good enough for Abe Mandel.
For Abe Mandel.